carrying through the base of the lower lungs, these horizontal rods, through the base of the brain, and through the base of the solar plexus. So all of this architecture, dokosha, within the body form, through the energy base, which makes it challenging to fully know one's own expression, because we exist here within this realm, within a wrapper, this compressed state of being through the human form. In order to survive here, in order to live here, in order to experience this life, we have had to come in from a much more limited vantage point of our own self, and the ways we have tried to define and understand ourselves through this reality. It's only a tiny portion of who we are. So where we have essentially taken on these descriptors as the truth of who we are, and yet we are so much more expansive. So needing to drop out of these compressed states, really these compended states of being, through the human form, as we begin to open now through the divine masculine ranges, because this really starts to appear like a black suit, very tight, very constrictive. It may look sleek and sharp, and yet very uncomfortable. In fact, painfully compressive through our masculine expression. So coming into the back of the lungs here, the back of the ribs, all along the spine, bringing in your source light. If we imagine ourselves to be these wholly expansive beings, unending, ever evolving, unlimited potentiality, imagine trying to converge all of this into only several points of space, and apply these points into a human form. The whole field must compress itself in order to do so. These pockets of energy that are we say that we have trauma and we have blockages within the body, and yet what it looks like is these traumas actually are laid over these points of compression. These points of compression are actually where we have, let's say, folded up our more expansive self. And then, of course, over lifetimes and through this conditioning here on this planet, we have forgotten almost those potential energy pockets have become inert. And in fact, they become points of destabilization for the human. This entire reversal of the way an energy field is supposed to operate here through the human form. So, coming into the back of the base of the brain, through the neck, and the front of the throat here. As we begin to bring in your source light into these, let's say, points of contention within your field, are they actually trauma and blockages, or is there something beneath that the trauma and the blockage is either attempting to cover up, or is it merely that because those points are so powerful, that is where the distortion gets overlaid? So really beginning to shift our perspectives about who we are, how we operate, what has happened to us here, and how we can begin to release these traumas much more easily and gracefully when we understand the reason that we hold them is because of our level of light capacitance, so that we can understand within ourselves these places where we feel at odds with ourselves, we feel shame, we feel disappointed, we tend to label ourselves negatively. It's all because there's something much more beautiful and profound to be uncovered there. So rather than fearing and turning away from, rather than being within avoidance, we shift to gladly gaze upon these points, to willingly be present within our joy in these moments, in these time spaces, in these encapsulated trauma ranges, because this is our will, this is our design, this is our ability, this is our purpose. And beyond that, it is simply who we are as pure energy beings. Here to be within our true nature, this expressive essence of light. It is natural, it is ever flowing. There is no other way to be, it is all we know. And yet through this human experience, we have taken on these machinations, these ways of thinking of ourselves, these ways of being within the density and distortion. None of this is true of our ultimate presence. Do inakai, do inakai, do inakai, do orokoshoshi shatakai takashoshi. So coming into the heart, do shoshi shatakai choshoki chashaki. Where the heart desires to be free, releasing through the back of the right side of the lungs. Do onokoya tokosho ochoshi shataki. Dakashoshi. Light field capacitance. Tokoshoshi. Good. Just opening through the core now. Allowing the light to filter in, streaming in, building through the core, this recognition of who you are and all of the ways you have mindfully restricted this expression. Waking up to this knowing, we are not victims. Waking up to the truth. By design, we are much greater, much more expansive, much more capable of seeing beyond these machinations of the human vessel. Tokoro ochoshi shataki chano koya katakashoshi. Doya ataki chasho koyachi chano kosho ichatakai. Shifting out these heavy laden tones, tokoshoshi, these where we are perceiving and picking up on the expressions and experiences of others, perhaps even in relation to us, tokosho, their experience, where that comes into the energy field, where we unknowingly begin to dictate to ourselves how we must be and express in order to resolve that tension through the field, and yet that is someone else's perspective. So not allowing ourselves to harmonize for that in that direction. Clearing through the base of the heart, this affected nature state of being. Becoming painfully aware of how we have altered our natures to serve others, to serve something other than source. We, the creators of our reality, of our density natures. Knowing this, seeing this, understanding this capacity within us to harmonize to something other than source, where we bemoan our circumstance, and yet seeing and feeling this now, clearing through the front of the third eye, through the masculine range, and through the center of the heart. Were we to know ourselves and others as true source beings, we would not fear another's experience, expression, or interpretation of us, for we would know that they held within them the capacity to reorder fully to their own source light, whereby neither energy field would have a need to affect another in this way. This eternal dance, eternal interaction of life force, sifting and sorting through your reality to find and locate, to recover all of these places where you have attuned to something other than your true self. Good. Clearing through the base of the heart. Kaya no hokaya, kaya no hokaya, kaya. Good. Where you have informed your own energy field based on skewed perception, manifested the illusion within you and through you. Clearing through the feminine ranges of the mind, through the third eye. These compended natures of being, allowing external energies to dictate our expression, our experience, and our energy. Good. Just starting to bring in this divine index through the core, spinning through the spirals, and clearing. Releasing. Shata I shata I shoshoyata Jonoko shokayata. Breathing into the heart space, coming in now to start to dismantle this false trinity. Clearing through the divine feminine where she desires to hold on to these distorted natures, this informed distortion. Good. And releasing through the lungs. Tae no kocho shishataka. Jana ko shana ocho shishataki. Chato kosho shishanaki chatokaya. As it is so.